Welcome to Legal Abuse Explained, the podcast that explains how the system can be weaponized and who pays the price. I'm your host, Ingrid Dutton. Today, we'll be exploring legal abuse syndrome. To help me guide the discussion, I'm joined by Dr. Danielle Duperret. Welcome, Dr. Danielle, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Before we dive in, could you please share your professional background?
Professional background. I was born and raised in Switzerland, was very interested in psychology, attended a conference when I was 15, opened door for me to study with an institute in Paris. I was also diagnosed with skin cancer at the time and suggested that I study nutrition. So since the age of 15, I've been doing psychology and nutrition. And Switzerland, the country of Heidi, that was my hero, Heidi and Pollyanna and the mountains. And then I came to this country in 79, got married, had children, and then started a divorce because it was a very abusive relationship. And very naive, I went to court. I expected the judge to protect my children, right? Most people do, and it didn't happen. So I lost custody, and at some point I was even jailed. When my teenagers ran away, I was accused of having kidnapped them, which I did not. And I met Karen Huffer, who wrote the book Legal Abuse Syndrome. When I got out of jail, she contacted me and we started to work together. So that's how I got into the legal abuse arena.
So, could you explain legal abuse syndrome in the simplest possible terms?
It's kind of, difficult to explain. It's like PTSD, post-traumatic stress. Most people go to court, whether it's in a custody or probate or all kind of things, expecting justice. Most people have a conscience. So they are driven by their conscience. They want justice. Justice should be blind. And they meet people who are driven by power, who absolutely don't seem to have a conscience. And yes, things go awry, and you start to ask yourself, what in the world is going on? Am I crazy? And you are facing a situation, you feel hopeless, you feel helpless, and you just react to abnormal situation. Now, there is an oncologist, Gerd Hamer, in Germany years ago, found out that where people were under stress, they had like short circuits in their brain. And I believe that's what happened when you go to through court and legal abuse. It's more of an injury. It's not, you're not crazy, but it is difficult to keep your feet on the ground when everything goes wrong, when you tell the judge that your children are being sexually abused and you're the one that lose custody. And I even had one of my client lost parental rights. She cannot see her children until they are 18, and at the time they were 7, 9, and 11, because she talked about what the father was doing to the children, was abusing them sexually.
So, I imagine it's difficult to understand when personally you have legal abuse syndrome or somebody that you are interacting with. Have you seen this in your personal or professional experience? And what did that look like to you?
What it looks like is, well, you're afraid to go to the mailbox because you're going to get a letter from your attorney or the opposing attorney. Nowadays, it's more you're afraid to open your email because you could get an email from the court, and you're afraid to go to court. You can have symptoms. I tend to have my digestive system act up on me. So before going to court, it was diarrhea and nausea, and some people can't eat, afraid to go out, and then you start losing a lot of things with the legal abuse. You may lose, you may lose money, and then credit card, and your reputation, and your job, and your friends, and it goes on, and finally, you're just alone in your home fighting a battle that you were never prepared for. It's like, the English duel where they settle things with a sword in the morning or something like that. So you go there, you have your sword, and they show up with a machine gun.
Ooh, okay. So it's
It's
not just psychological, it's physical ailments, and then it
yes.
wipes you out pretty much.
Yes, exactly. And then you have all kind of problems with hormones. You have cortisol level. A lot of women gain a lot of weight, don't know why. And it's just your body trying to keep you alive while you're going through insanity.
So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that surround legal abuse syndrome?
Well, first of all, I think you don't know you're suffering from that. I thought I was crazy initially. They took my children away, and I couldn't work any longer. I went through therapist, court-appointed therapist who lied in their report, and I was reading their report and say, okay, if I'm this woman and I don't realize, sure, they should take my children. And then was a client of mine who became a dear friend kind of shook me and said, no, it's a system, it's not you. And then I had different client who went through the system, and I think it took 2 years, and I found groups that were fighting against that system. And, it validated what I was going through. I'm not the crazy one. The system is just not the justice for all that we expect.
So, I suppose step one would be recognizing these symptoms of legal abuse syndrome. Once you do, and hopefully people find this resource and find this conversation so they're able to identify some of these characteristics that they're seeing in themselves. But once it's identified, what are key steps that survivors can do to strengthen themselves in this entire arena?
Yeah, I would say that you need to survive it. You need to do whatever you can psychologically and even physically. Eat good food. Don't add food that trigger anxiety to your diet. Be very careful with that to keep your body strong. Know that somehow there is an end to the tunnel. This is the light at the end of the tunnel, and many times when you go through that, it's just another train coming on the other side, but eventually there is a light. And once you over it, then you can recover, rebuild your brain, rebuild your body. But while you're going through it, that's survival. I remember a medical doctor who does a lot of holistic and psychological work told me it's not time to build your practice. You've got to survive that first.
Yeah, it sounds like a very long, arduous task to accomplish. If there were one piece of advice that you could offer, and it sounds like there's a lot of advice that you would need to give for somebody who's going through this, but if there's one piece that sticks out to you, what would it be that you would want people to take away from this conversation?
I'd say find a group that understand what's going on. I was fortunate to meet Karen Huffer, who understood legal abuse. Also, Linda Barna, who just passed away. They understood. Most psychologists don't understand, and actually, it makes them crazy to hear the stories. So find a group, and you can find a lot of groups in on the internet. I worked closely with a group in California, then also in Denver. They understand what's going on. They can support you and help you realize you're not the crazy one and survive that until it's over. And then groups are getting together to fight at a higher level.
Okay, if any listeners are out there and they want to get to know you a little bit more, find out more about you, how would they find that information?
Well, they can go on my website is healthwisdomacademy.com. I started an academy to help people help themselves. And if you want a specific pages is /PTSD-LAS. And you get all kind of information. Now, I used to work with Karen Huffer when she passed away. I worked with her organization for a while. I recorded a lot of videos. They are still on the website, but I haven't worked with that organization since 2019. but the information is still accurate.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Dr. Danielle, for
Well, thank you for having me.
yes. And your time and your expertise have been invaluable. And you can find Dr. Danielle's information along with other valuable resources at afterawareness.org. And we at After Awareness hope today's conversation has been valuable and informative. Please be sure to join us next time on Legal Abuse Explained.